Hello, everyone, and welcome to the OnlyLandFans show. My name is Kendall Lejeune, and our guest today is Ben Pijanowski. Ben Pijanowski is the integrator and co-owner of Assets for Acres LLC, a land investment company specializing in land wholesaling, flips, and development projects. Ben leads a team of 6 with his business partner Ajay Sharma, and he is passionate about scaling teams through effective and empowering leadership. Assets for Acres' goal is to do $1.5 million in land flipping projects for 2024. Ben, thanks so much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Kendall.
Yeah, listen, I'm super excited to have you on. It's been a long time coming. We've met several times, hung out several times in person at all these amazing land events. And so I'm so excited to be able to present you to the OnlyLandFans community and just pick your brain in all of the areas of genius that you have going on. So for those of us who don't know you, can you tell us, how did you get started in doing land deals?
For sure. Yeah. So I guess this kind of starts back in college. So I got to know my business partner, Ajay Sharma, at Indiana University. We both went there together and we had a class together. And we actually just started talking about real estate in general. And from there, we communicated after college and we were like, okay, how are we going to start doing real estate after college? Because we had just started our 9 to 5 jobs in the corporate world. And Ajay came across this course called RE Tipster.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, Ben, I think this land thing might be something we can do because we don't have to have a ton of capital, but we can get started and start figuring out how to buy real estate for a discount. And I was like, oh, this seems cool. So Ajay started his business in 2020, at the end of the year in 2020. And he started doing a couple deals. And then I decided to take the course myself. I opened up my own business. And as it would turn out, I never did a single real estate transaction within my own business because I
Really?
realized that I just did not like being the number one guy, right? I didn't want to be the visionary, which we'll get into later, of the business. I wanted to be the operator of the business. But in order to be an operator, you have to have a business, right? So I shut that
Right.
down. I did a couple other things. I still had my 9 to 5 job at KPMG in Chicago for that following year. But then I decided to quit that corporate job. Accounting just wasn't the right fit for me. And then I came back to Ajay in the beginning of 2022. I told Ajay, I said, hey, man, I'm thinking about potentially starting to do a couple more land deals. And he said, Ben, why don't you just join me? Because he had done a couple deals. He really had his footing. He was starting to build a business. He just needed some help in terms of resources. So we joined forces. We started doing a couple JV deals together just in terms of marketing and splitting that. And then after a year of doing that together, we just decided that we were such a force as business partners that we just needed to come together as business partners and just share the business. Right. So I came in as a full partner at the beginning of 2023, and now we own the business 50-50 together. And we just have such complementary skills that allow us to lead effectively because we're focused on different aspects of the business. So we actually just hired a new employee and we have 7 people now on our team, which is super exciting.
Congrats. Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
yeah, so it's super exciting. I love Ajay. He's an amazing person. I'm sure you guys have heard him on a lot of podcasts and education. He's so good at just boiling down concepts and really helping people understand exactly what they can use to take and get from 0 to 1. And it's been such a pleasure for me to work with him. And we really have a lot of fun working and working on the business together. That's how I got started. We've done probably about 40 transactions now together at this point since I started in 2022. So we decided to start doing a lot more rural rec at the end of 2022. And that's been really good for us and something we've continued to do since that point. And right now, our main marketing channel is Facebook ads. That's how we're funneling leads to our business right now. We're focusing on a couple entitlement and larger subdivide projects, but mostly we're flipping and wholesaling deals. That's our main machine that we built here at Assets for Acres. And that's the general overview of where we're at right now.
Yeah, I love it. So many things going on. What I love so much about this is I mentioned earlier before we actually started rolling that land is a team sport. And the
Yeah.
fact that you have found someone that has complementary skill set to yours, you can go so much further with a team like that than if you were struggling and you've got missing wheels on your car and all this other stuff, right? I absolutely love this, and I can't wait to dive into our topic. Our topic today is an integrator's approach to leading a team to seven-figure land sales. And so the very first question that I have is for those of us who are listening to this who might not be familiar with the term visionary or integrator, walk us through that. What is an integrator?
Right. So a lot of times in a business, you'll have a CEO and a COO. So from the book Traction by Gino Wickman comes the two terms, the visionary and the integrator. So the visionary is usually the person who founds the business. They're the entrepreneur. They're the person who has the vision of how to get to 10 years from now, 5 years from now, a year from now, right? They're always ideating and figuring out new businesses to create and new ways to serve the clients or the customer to make the business better. The integrator's job is to take those visionaries' ideas and number one, filter them, and number two, make them a reality, right? So Ajay has so many ideas and he's incredible at ideating and figuring it out exactly what problems we need to solve in the future for our business. And then my job is to steer the ship and then be aware of those problems that Ajay is speaking to me and knowing that those are going to come up, because I like to say that Ajay is the how guy and I'm the what guy, right? He's going to start at the end and I'm going to start at the beginning, right? So when you mix us together, we're just following that path together and really bouncing ideas off of each other to make sure we're on the right path, right? So a lot of times you'll hear CEO, COO, and those are the two relationships, right? So we are communicating constantly on a weekly basis and working between those two sides of the coin. And I think it's super important for a business to have both those two sides going on, because building from the ground up and building from the top down are both very effective ways to build a business. But when you have both, you're able to see so many different sides. And that's why Ajay and I like to talk about how it's good for us to split up when we go to conferences, because we're having way different conversations with everybody we speak with, right? The conversation I have with you, Kendall, may be way different from the conversation that Ajay has with you, but we're going to take away super important things for our business that both of us will implement together, just in different ways. So I think it's super important to also have that self-awareness for yourself. And we actually took the assessments for the Traction Integrator Visionary assessments. And I am about 90% integrator and Aj is about 90% visionary. So sometimes you'll fit more in the middle and you can be more of a hybrid, and that's great. We just found that we were total opposite ends of the spectrum. So us joining forces has just been super effective for us to combine our strengths and really make sure that we're focusing on the aspects of the business that utilize those strengths within ourselves to make sure that we're always pushing forward and solving the problems that need to be solved at the current moment.
Hey, land fans, looking for your tribe of serious land investors? Join thousands of your fellow land lovers in the OnlyLandFans Facebook group. We're talking real deals, expert strategies, and game-changing connections you won't find anywhere else. This isn't just another real estate group. This is the community where land investors come to level up. Join us at OnlyLandFansGroup.com and join the conversation today. That's OnlyLandFansGroup.com. See you there. That is fantastic. Now, if someone's listening to this and they're just hearing these terms, integrator, visionary, for the first time, talk to us about, this is not something that you can choose and say, oh, I think today I'm going to be a visionary. I think today I'm going to be an integrator. Like, this is rooted in your personality, right? So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will always say that I have come from a place of routine. Ever since the beginning of my life, like, routine has been the most important aspect of my life, right? Meanwhile, Ajay has always focused on fun. Fun has been his thing. And then fitting routine has always been a second. And meanwhile, fun has always been a second position for me to routine, right? Because I find that fun is a side effect of the routine. And then for Ajay, routine is a side effect of the fun. Right. I think if you're thinking, am I an integrator or am I a visionary? I guess it's really, where does your brain go when you have that free time? Are you trying to solve the big problems? Are you trying to think of the next business idea? Are you trying to figure out what's the problem that's going to come up in 5 years from now, 1 year from now? Are you thinking about AI? Are you thinking about all these things that could be implemented within the business? And a lot of times, like I said earlier, the visionary is going to be the person who starts the business, because a lot of times you're going to find integrators, they're in corporate jobs, they've already found someone to place their loyalty under, and they're just trying to solve a mission for someone else, because an integrator just want to make things happen. They just want to see a goal and figure out what the first step is to get to that second step. I always think about, okay, what's the first thing we can do whenever Ajay says, okay, this is the bottleneck in the business. I'm already starting to problem solve to think, okay, this is the first task we have to do. So I guess it more comes down to, where's your ideation? Does it go to where is the problem, or does it go to how do we solve that problem, and what is the first step? So I think those are the two sides of that coin.
Yeah, that's really good insight. And so if someone is saying, okay, I think I might be an integrator, I'm not exactly sure. You mentioned that there is an assessment. How can someone go about getting a clearer idea on, am I a visionary? Am I an integrator?
I would say the first place to go is a book called Rocket Fuel by Gino Wickman, which is a breakdown of the integrator and the visionary. And it has an assessment within that book that you can take and that you can see for yourself if you're on the visionary side or if you're on the integrator side.
Yeah, that's really good. And that I am such a huge EOS Gino Wickman fan because it just, it gives you a framework for business operations. And there's a very big difference from being what a friend of mine, Logan Fulmer, calls a deal shop, where you're just trying to get deals done and do whatever you can to close the deal. And then having a business where you're actually following some business protocols so you can have consistent systems and processes so you can get predictable outcomes. And so I love that so much because you're thinking about this as a business. From the very beginning, you talked about CEO, COO. These are very like business corporate terms. And if you're approaching your lane business that way, then that's a very different approach than just trying to do a shotgun method and whatever sticks.
Yeah, and we always like to talk about how we want to build for the business that we want to have in the future, right? So we want to see ourselves as like a mini Fortune 500 company. And it's okay, how do we get there? How do we build that foundation to have the ability to be that caliber of a business while also being a small business? And I think it really comes from understanding the foundation and being able to see where the right people need to be in the right seats. And I actually learned a lot from the E-Myth. I think I read it about 5 years ago. And it starts with three different types of people. You have the entrepreneur, you have the manager, and you have the technician. Those are the three types of people. Usually the founder of the business is going to be the entrepreneur. Usually the integrator is going to be the manager. And then usually your employees are going to be the technicians, right? I knew from the moment that I read that book that I was the manager. I was that middle person. I was that person that loved the operations, the systems, fitting the pieces together to be most effective within the business. Something I'm super passionate about is just self-awareness, but also awareness of others, right? So every person that comes through our business, we have them test on Enneagram and Myers-Briggs. And I read every single one of those assessments to understand our team better, because that way I can serve them better as a leader. Because then I understand, oh, this person is wired this way. They need incentives. They need work in this way. They need challenges in this way. Let me make sure that I am feeding them in a way that they feel empowered and challenged and are growing on a daily basis. And that fulfills our core values and make sure that we're always delivering to our employees, because we work for our team as much as they work for us.
Love that. That is beautiful. That's I could literally just talk about that one little monologue for the next hour and a half. We have a lot to
Yeah.
cover, but
Yeah.
my gosh, it's just a completely different approach that I think a lot of people, including myself, when I first started in real estate, okay, I'm going to own a business. I thought that there were certain things I'm a small business, so I can't do X, Y, Z. But if you like you're talking about in terms of thinking about what is the future business and setting that up from day one, where there are fundamentals, there are systems, there are processes, and you're being intentional about it. I think that is just remarkable. One other side piece that I do want to say about
Yeah.
Visionary Integrator before we get off of that is, was it as freeing for you as it was for me when I found out, oh, there is a lane that I can that I'm naturally inclined to be in, and I can stay in that lane and like work with someone else to help complement. I don't have to do all of the things. I can just be me. So talk to us a little bit about that process when you first realized, oh, there's such thing as an integrator, and that's who I am.
Absolutely. It frees up so much headspace to not have to think in a way that you're naturally wired to think. So if you're an integrator and you're feeling like you really got to push the business forward and solve those problems in the future, you're just going to be working against the grain. And something Ajay and I love to talk about is working with the grain, right? And being able to put Ajay in a seat where he's a visionary and he doesn't have to do the day-to-day work, and he doesn't have to hop on the daily stand-ups. He doesn't have to solve small administrative problems. That's where we need him. We need him in the high leverage relationship building, doing stuff like this and going out and meeting people and making relationships. Meanwhile, I love to be behind the scenes. I love to work with our team, interface with them on a daily basis, make sure that everything in the business is being taken care of. If anything sits, I start to think of a way to get things moved forward because I don't like things sitting. That's how I'm naturally wired. I don't like to sit. Like I am always moving, doing something. So I operate in the same way within the business. And Ajay does the same thing, but just in a different way. I'm moving in more of an operational way, and he's moving more of in a relational way. But it's great because then we get to complement each other, right? So Ajay sees my routine and discipline, and he sees how much it benefits me. And then I see his social butterfly ability, right? And I see how much that benefits him, right? So it helps both of our confidences just being around the other type of person. And then that way, like you're talking about with just releasing that brain space, you just don't have to try to be someone else. We talk with our team, we say, we want you to come to our company on a daily basis without a mask. We don't want anyone wearing a mask, feeling like you have to show up differently than you show up around your family, around your friends. We want you to be the exact same person because we realize how important integrity is. Integrity within yourself and integrity with your relationships, right? So the more we can do that, the more that our people will feel comfortable with us and open up and allow us to help them grow. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. We're all to get here to get better as people. And we want to serve our team to help them get better because we know if they get better, we'll get better as well. And that's what we're all here to do.
Oh, that is good. That is
Nice.
good. Integrity in yourself and showing up and being in your lane.
Yeah,
Like that without that mask requires you to be so vulnerable, but then it's so powerful because then people can get things done and feel safe to be able to stretch themselves and do things that is like within them to do. I love
exactly.
that. That's incredible. That's incredible. So one last integrator question. If someone, let's say, is a visionary and they're listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm missing an integrator in my business. Like I've been trying to do all the things, but I think I'm ready to bring on an integrator because I think this is a missing piece. How does someone go about finding an integrator if they are a visionary? And how does an integrator go about finding their visionary so that they can have that relationship?
Absolutely. I think this is super important, Kendall, because I think it's unique within the land business to have visionary and integrators. A lot of land businesses are run primarily by visionaries. And I'm sure there are some people listening here wondering, how do I find my integrator, my complementary piece? Right. And I think what visionaries are so good at is building relationships. Right. So I would say double down on that for the visionaries for sure. And also think about people within your circle who may be in a position that they're not completely happy with, right? So that's people who are working 9 to 5s who maybe are more entrepreneurially spirited, but just haven't made the jump yet. People who have taken an interest in Bigger Pockets, Grant Cardone, a lot of the bigger brands, right? Because a lot of visionaries are going to find the niches, right? But integrators are going to find more of the big brands, right? So my recommendation to visionaries would be to go to Grant Cardone conferences, go to Bigger Pocket conferences, go to the places where more people with jobs are going to be and start forming relationships with those people, because those circles are where you're going to find a lot of integrators. You also may already know someone who might be a good fit. And I would say it's good to test for 30 days, test for 60 days. Just say, hey, can you partner with me on one deal and just drive the operations for this just to the finish line, and we'll split it however you want to do it, right? Just to test your working capabilities with one another, because I feel that having a partnership is very similar to having a marriage, in that you want to date before you get married, right? As soon as you form a 50-50 partnership with someone, you're locked in, right? It's basically a marriage on paper with the government. So you want to make sure for sure that you're aligned with three things: values, interests, and vision. Those are the three super important things between two partners. And you want to make sure that your partner has a lot to offer in terms of time, experience, or money, at least two of those three things, because partnerships require a lot of time, a lot of experience, and a lot of money. And you want to make sure that when you're just starting out, that you can manage those effectively with the other person. When it comes to an integrator finding a visionary, I would say that integrators need to get out of their comfort zone and start building relationships more, because it doesn't come to you. So I was very social in college. I was in a business fraternity, and that allowed me to meet a lot of different people, and that built my social muscle. So once I got out of college and started interacting with more people, and now in the land space, I've been able to interact with a lot more people and get to meet a lot of people in the land space. That has allowed me to see, okay, who is someone that I would be able to work with? And I just got very lucky that from my senior year of college, I had an inkling that Ajay and I would be working together, just because we had such a good friendship relationship. Like, our friendship has always been built on business. So maybe some people here listening have relationships with their friends that are built on business. Maybe that would be potentially good to build a partnership on, because I think it's a lot of fun to make money with your friends. It's so empowering. So just think about who you already have in your Rolodex, and then maybe ask them if they could help you operationally with one deal, and just test it. It doesn't have to be forever. It can be temporary, and then go from there. Take it one deal at a time.
I love that. So much gold right there. So much, so many good things right there. And absolutely incredible. Now, let me ask you this, because you mentioned your team, you mentioned core values, you've mentioned vision. And so let's shift gears a little bit and talk to me about how do core values and how does vision manifest itself in your company, and how did you guys go about identifying those?
Yes. So this was a super important exercise that we did at the end of last year. So we joined Collective Genius in March of 2023. And that was super important for the growth in our business. And we've learned so much from that community of people. So this exercise came from the Harpers at Sharper Business Solutions. And they told us to, from a list of 100 different core values, both me and Ajay needed to select 7 core values that we thought we admired in the people we most looked up to, the people who had helped us the most throughout our lives. What were those core values and traits or characteristics within those people that we thought were the most important to get us where we are now, right? So from that exercise, both me and Ajay, we came down to 7 traits, and we put it on our whiteboard here in the living room. And then from there, we needed to select 3 between those 2 lists of 7. So we chunked it down, crossed off the ones we didn't feel were the best, and we came down to 3. So at Assets for Acres, we have 3 core values: enthusiasm, dependability, and growth. Number 1, enthusiasm. We want to make sure that our team is excited to come to work every day, that they're in a position that they are excited to execute on their tasks, but also excited to come and interact with the team and feel like themselves, like we talked about the mask earlier. Enthusiastic. And also, we have our team tell us that they are talking to their friends and telling about how much they love their job. That's so exciting for us to hear.
So cool. So
So
cool.
we want to have that enthusiasm, and we feel the same about our jobs. We love what we do on a daily basis. So it's great that our team can feel the same way as well. Number 2 is dependability. We want to make sure that our team feels like they can come to us for anything, and vice versa. right? We want to know that our team will be there whenever we need them to help us solve a problem, but also that we'll be there to help them solve problems because we feel that we serve our team just as much as they serve us. And then number three is growth. We are super, super bullish on growth because that has been something that's not only a business core value, but a personal core value for me and Ajay, right? So everybody in our lives, we want to surround ourselves with people who are focused on growth. And our hope is that we are putting our team in a position to not only grow professionally, but also grow personally. And then that way they can follow and reach their dreams, just like we are feeling like we are able to do with this business. So the land is such a unique business, but it is also such a broad possibility business that you can really do whatever you want with it. So we feel super, we love our core values, and I think it's great that we are very intentional about focusing on those core values. And our team is super bought in, and we're excited about that.
I absolutely love that. And so once you have figured out your core values, these are the lenses through which you are filtering everything, right?
Yep.
So in what ways do these core values start manifesting themselves in their business on your, like how you're building your team, your business processes, your customer experience? Can you walk us through a little bit of that?
For sure. So it starts with the hiring process, right? So we want to make sure on the first application vetting process that we go through and we make sure that we are identifying candidates that fit within those three core values. And something that we start with is a Loom video. Usually Ajay films a video and he explains our core values. So that's already a disqualifier for people who don't vibe with the core values that we have. Our hope is that they won't apply, which is okay. People have different core values personally, and we hope that they can find the people that they identify with and vibe with more. But we want to find the people who are on the same mission that we're on, right? So it starts with that video, starts with that application process, the job description, because it's just as important to say what you don't want as it is to say what you do want. So that's super important on the front end. And then through the interviews, all our interview questions are based around our core values, right? We don't say specifically, oh, tell me about dependability, tell me about enthusiasm, tell me about growth. No, they're all worded differently, but they're all along the same lines to make sure that we're drilling down and really asking those deeper questions around the core values to make sure that we're having that connection. We like to say throughout our interview process, by the end, we want to make sure that we want to take a road trip with every single one of our team members. We would love to take a cross-country road trip with every single one of our people on our team. And that's true. That's true right now. And we want to keep that going in the future. And we know that there will come a point where Ajay and I are more removed from the business on a day-to-day basis. And we want to make sure that we are bringing in people that will carry that culture forward. And that takes strong personalities who will take ownership of those core values. And we feel like we really have that right now. So that's how we vet to make sure that we're having our people always be thinking about those core values.
Yeah, that is huge. That O word, ownership, is an absolute game changer. And I didn't really get that until I hired someone that didn't really have ownership. They just clocked in, did what I asked them to do, and clock out. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much work. Like just trying to get them to do more than what I'm asking. And so that ownership piece is so important. Now, digging into teams a little bit more. Can you give us a little bit of an overview of how your team is broken down? Do you have in-person people? Are they remote? What does that look like?
Yes, absolutely. So it starts with me and Ajay, right? We're the visionary and integrators. And then we have one acquisitions manager. We have two. We used to have one. Now we have two lead managers that are primarily on the phones. And then we have two former texting, hybrid, subdivide, prospecting VAs. And then we have one dispo/TC manager right now. And then we have one executive assistant for Ajay. So the executive assistant will report to Ajay, and then everyone else reports to me, and then I report to Ajay.
If you're enjoying this episode of the OnlyLandFans podcast, please let us know by subscribing and leaving a review. Now let's get back to the action.
Excellent. And so are these people, obviously you and Ajay are in person. Are these people in person or some of them virtual? What does that look like?
Yes. So it's me and Ajay. We live in the same house together. So we
That's
are in
cool.
person. Yeah,
That's
we have a
nice.
blast with that. And then we have 3 American workers, and then we have 4 in the Philippines. So everyone is virtual except for me and Ajay. So we do everything via Zoom, everything via Slack, email, Pebble. That's where all our communication is. And that works well for us. Whenever Ajay and I need to go out and visit the dirt, and it's in Texas, we'll go out and drive and we'll meet the sellers on the dirt, which is always a fun experience. But primarily, all of our appointments are virtual, and that works well for us.
Excellent. So you are managing a virtual team. And so can you talk to us about how do you organize those meetings and what do the flow of those meetings look like? Like how do you run a 7-figure empire all virtually? How does that work?
So because I'm the integrator, I'm going to be biased, but I feel like tribes are built on routine, right? So that's where we implemented our daily stand-up midway through the year last year, and we saw such a jump in our camaraderie on our team. And the exponential growth from that camaraderie has been huge. So what happens in those daily stand-ups, Monday through Thursday, I run them, is our team comes and they report on what they did yesterday and what the game plan is for today. That's what our daily stand-ups are all about. That's the time for the team to ask questions, to come with problems, to interact with each other, to have that quick feedback, right? Because before that, we were doing everything through Slack. And everything through Slack, sometimes written communication can get misconstrued. So I have become super, super bullish on daily stand-ups. And I really think that if you're not running a daily stand-up, you're failing your business, because it is so crucial to solving those problems quickly, because end of week turns into end of day. And that's so important. And then also just being able to interact with your team on a daily basis and understanding how they're driving forward. Even just seeing the small things and, oh, how are you feeling today? What's going on in your life? Oh, do you need to take some time off? Do you need to rest, right? Just having more of that human to human interaction, right? Coming on camera every single day, and also just knowing that you have to be accountable for your results on a daily basis is super important. So then from there, we have a Friday weekly meeting that Ajay then runs. So Ajay's not on the daily stand-ups because he's taking his visionary time, right? He needs his time to ideate, think about the business. So that's why I come in and I run the daily stand-up, so he doesn't have to think about the day-to-day problems that aren't important to the visionary. So that's why he comes in on Friday. We talk about weekly wins, and then we talk about the big problems that we need to solve, and also the weekly updates. So it's more of a broad, longer time horizon spectrum. And then we also consider that a culture building meeting, right? Just talking about everybody's lives, talking about their goals, talking about their dreams, and then also just speaking about things that we can get better in, and also having time for training as well on that Friday meeting. It's a full hour, and those daily stand-ups are all half an hour each in the morning. I run them at 10 a.m. Central Time. And then when I'm gone, I just open up a Google Meet for our team, and they run the daily stand-up by themselves. Because I'm traveling a lot, I'm going to conferences, I'm doing things. So I honestly don't even know what happens in those meetings, but I know things get done. And that's where I think
that's cool. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's important for us as leaders to allow our team to be leaders as well. Something Gary Harper told me was, you are not that important to your business, and it should be that way. So I really took that to heart, to be like, okay, I can take some time away to get some feedback from other business owners. Let's see how the team goes. And like I said, you have to let them be leaders. And when you leave, that's when the growth opportunity is the biggest, because there's nobody in the room to say, hey, I'm running this. It's the team running it themselves. So it's who steps up as the leader. There's no demarcated person that is supposed to be the leader when I'm gone. So it runs effectively. So somebody steps up. I don't know who it is, but it gets done. And that's what's exciting, that unknowing, that uncertainty, that things get done. And that also I know it's run exactly the way that I run it, because I run it the same way every single day. The same person goes first, the same person goes last every single day. So it's very routine based, and it's very predictable. And just like I said at the beginning about tribes are built on routine.
Listen up, land fans. This is huge. We're bringing you the one and only Pace Morby, star of A&E's Triple Digit Flip and the mastermind behind $450 million in real estate deals. He's coming to our virtual meetup on Thursday, December 5th to share how he's applying his creative financing genius to land deals. Head to olfmeetup.com to save your spot today. That's olfmeetup.com. This is the kind of opportunity that changes everything. Yeah, that is really good. And so I think I already know the answer to this question because we are big EOS fans and we've been talking a lot about EOS things. But when you're talking about this routine, are you following like the level 10 meeting format that EOS puts out?
Yes. So we actually just implemented this, me and Ajay. So we only do the level 10 between me and Ajay right now.
Okay.
So it's just between us as leaders. And what we are focused on is two things: big projects and the big thing, right? So within that level 10 meeting, we are focused on understanding the issues of the business. We are one, diagnosing the issues of the business, and then two, figuring out which problem both Ajay and I need to solve for that coming week. Because chunking down quarterly goals into weekly goals makes it a lot more digestible. And we found that once we focused on the big thing for the week, that allowed us to really see where we were at in terms of our goals, right? Because a lot of times it can be easy to start doing tasks and you're all over the place. But when you think every single week about the goal, and if you're actually working towards it, is this the thing that's actually moving the needle? Then you'll continually come back to, okay, am I getting the results that I need? No. Okay, how do we readjust course to make sure that both of us are working on pushing the initiatives forward in the business that need to be done, right? So we'll start that level 10 with just all the issues in the business to make sure that we're really understanding what is going on in the business and that both Ajay and I are on the same page. Once we have that discussion, then we know exactly where the bottlenecks are, and that's where our focus is going to be for the week. So that's what we take for the week, and we focus our deep work time on those big initiatives, right? That's our time to work on the business rather than in the business. So we understand that a lot of our time is going to be spent maintaining the business, but that level 10 time is time to no phones, no computers. Hey, just us in the kitchen. This is what we need to focus on right now. And I think that's been really effective for us.
Gosh, the amount of intention and intentionality on what you're trying to do, really informing why you're doing what you're doing. That is a completely different level than just let's just do deals. Like it's a different universe altogether. And it makes total sense to me in terms of how beneficial and how helpful that can be when you are trying to achieve goals. If you don't outline the goals, you don't even know what you're doing, right? Like you're just,
Yes.
Let's just get some deals and see where we land. That's a different conversation from
Exactly.
We're setting a roadmap and we're being intentional about the steps that we're taking. You've broken down the level 10 meetings really well, the daily stand-ups. When do you guys talk about like pipeline review, or do you guys do anything like that?
Yes, we have a weekly pipeline review, and that's super effective for us. We also talk marketing on a weekly basis. But what's so nice about us being in person as partners is we just have that time to just have those small conversations of, hey, did you see this and this? Hey, did you see this about that thing? Just having those interactions is so effective. And since we've been in person, we really feel like it's been rocket fuel for us. So those are our main times. The level 10, I feel like, is the most important. The daily stand-ups, I feel, are crucial. The weekly meetings also are key. But just having that open communication line with your partner just allows you to talk about whatever you need to talk about. But the level 10 is definitely the number one priority for the week.
That's very cool. So shifting gears now, going into, you mentioned earlier about the big thing, right? That's actually a term, another EOS thing, right? And so can you talk a little bit about big projects, the big thing? How do you, once you figure out what your goal is, how do you guys approach chunking that goal down?
Yes. Yeah. So we always say that in the business, there are two issues. There's either conversion issue or a leads issue. So from there, either on the disposition side or on the acquisition side, we want to understand. Sorry, I'm getting a tornado alert here.
Take
We're
cover
good.
if you need to.
Yeah, no, we'll be good. Just some rain, I think. But yeah, so we want to make sure that we're focusing on either conversions or leads. And for this week, my big thing is lead management process. And Ajay's big thing is lead management quality control. So he's taking a look at all the calls, he's going through trainings, he's going through scripts, he's making sure that how we're doing lead management is the way we want to do it. And then my big thing is lead management process. I'm the systems guy. So I want to make sure that our pipeline is built out correctly to make it easy for our team to go through all of their leads and then move them seamlessly throughout the pipeline, and to make sure that our team is connected and working efficiently together. Right. So I think at the end of the day, I know a lot of this is like maybe fancy or corporate terminology, but at the end of the day, my goal for creating this system is just for us to have as many shots on goal as possible. I want us to have as many shots on goal as possible, because I know that the best deals come from the most volume. At least that's my opinion. So by creating a system that is flawless, that is super efficient, allows our team to continually push leads through the pipeline to a place where we are just doing massive volume and taking massive action. Because Ajay is the results guy, I'm the process guy. When you combine us, you get rocket fuel. We see our business as a rocket, and we see me and Ajay as a rocket fuel. That's our job. We need to inject energy, process, and efficiency into the rocket to make sure that we are continually moving faster and getting to our destination. So at the end of the day, these systems, these meetings, these processes, it all comes down to us having as many shots on goal. And that's what we're looking to do, because that's where the best deals come from. And that's what we're hoping to do.
That is really cool. I love that. So, can you talk a little bit about, you mentioned that you were the systems guy and you have the most interface with all of your employees and or team members rather. So, exactly how do you go about leading a team and making sure that the systems and processes are being followed and implemented, all of the things, right? I think that that's one of the things that a lot of people in the land business talk about is building a team. That's great. But once you build a team, then you have to make sure that you're coaching that team and that you're managing the processes. So how do you approach that in your business?
Yes. So I'll start here at the beginning with our interviewing and our onboarding. We always talk with our team about how we want our team to be autonomous. We don't want to feel like we are micromanaging our team or over managing our team. We want our team to feel empowered and to be able to feel like they can make mistakes. And that's okay, because we believe that the best learning is through making mistakes. If you're not allowing your team to fail, you're not allowing them to grow. And then on the other side, I really feel that leadership comes down to personal leadership and leading by example. If my team believes that I can be a strong leader, then my hope is that they can believe in themselves that same thing. So I push myself extremely hard to an extremely high standard, but also I allow for people to not have as such of a high standard for themselves. But I have an exceptional belief in everybody that I surround myself with. So I can see the best version of someone on my team. And my goal is to take that vision and make it a reality for them if they so choose. And the way that I see to be able to do that is to help them learn more about themselves. And that starts with me knowing about myself, right? I don't just tell my team to take the tests and not do it myself. I'm super bought into that stuff. I'm a type 1 Enneagram. I'm an INTJ. And I'll shout that from the rooftops because I'm so proud of it. I love who I am. I love my personality. And I think loving who you are gives you more confidence. And I think leadership comes down to 3 C's. It comes down to confidence, it comes down to courage, and it comes down to calm, right? Mm. So if we have that, confidence starts with being able to do the things that we say we're going to do. And I think the most important promise you make are the ones that you make to yourself. And that's where the confidence starts from. It starts with the really small things. Just waking up in the morning when you said you were going to wake up in the morning, going to the gym when you said you were going to go to the gym, showing up for that meeting on time, being accountable, showing that your friends, that you love them and that you're going to be there for them. And I really believe that confidence is a muscle that we can build, just like courage. Courage comes from those moments when we're scared to do things, right? And I love business because we're able to instill that courage in other people. Just today, we're having our lead manager train a new lead manager for the first time. She's never done training of a new lead manager before. So this is new territory for her. But she literally thanked me and Ajay for the opportunity to be able to help someone learn, help train someone, because she knows she's growing from that. But that also took courage from our lead manager to say, hey, I'm good enough that I can teach someone else. Because it takes courage to say, hey, I'm good. Let me tell you about something, right? It takes courage, right? It took courage for me to come on this podcast. This is only my second podcast interview ever, right?
Really?
So I was a little nervous before this.
You're killing it, man.
Thank you. Thanks, Kendall. So yeah, so I feel like I want to make sure that I'm doing things just in the way that I hope to inspire my team to do the same. And then the third C is calm, right? Issues will come up in the business. I always tell Ajay that our job as leaders of the company is to be unflappable. Anything that comes up, unflappable. Something happens with the business. Okay. All right. Next thing, right? We'll have high highs, we'll have low lows, and we'll have middle ground as well. But we want to make sure that we stay as neutral as possible, because that's our job as the leaders of the company, to say, okay, this happened, what next? And then from our calm, once we instill our calm with each other, that ripples into the rest of the business. So I really feel like as the leader of the company, you need to have those three things and consciously be thinking about those three things on a daily basis. And then you'll become the leader that is able to lead a team to the promised land.
That is absolutely fantastic advice. What I love so much about that too is that you're demonstrating traits that you want your team members to have.
Yes.
And those team members, because we talked about how important having ownership and being autonomous is, they absolutely have to have those three traits, especially the courage, especially the confidence to be able to do that. So by you modeling that for them, they know what it looks like. And it's like you've given them permission to do those things as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. I love that. And that's a whole podcast episode that we could have. Again, every one of these topics, I'm like, let's talk about that for 3 hours because they're so good.
Yep.
It's so good. So can you talk a little bit about the future of your business and how you guys look towards growth? Because you did mention that growth is a big core value of yours. And so how do you guys approach growth other than we want to make more money in the future? What does that look like?
You're right. That's good, Kendall. Yeah. So I will say that this is something I like to always ask Ajay, right? Because this is a question for the visionary that we have to continually be asking, right? The visionary the question you're asking is something that the visionary should own, should like stake a claim to. This is our future. This is where we're going. I'm super pumped. I'm the cheerleader for this vision, right? You guys come along with me. We're going to have a blast. That's what Ajay does on our weekly team meetings. He's, hey, I can see this future for our business. Let's go, guys. We're going to have a blast. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to have so much fun together doing this thing, achieving these goals together. Ajay and I also like to talk about how we learn so much on a weekly basis. It almost makes it hard to say, hey, this is where our business is going to be a year from now. So our idea around this is we want to be non-drifters. And this comes from the book, Outwitting the Devil, right? Non-drifting means staying focused and staying in a lane, right? So we've been in land. Ajay founded the business almost 4 years ago for about 4 years. We know that compounding returns happen year after year in business. So I'm speaking about this to you from an integrator perspective, right? I'm starting at the beginning, right?
Yes.
So I don't want to commit to us being in land for a decade, but I will say that it would be very beneficial for our business to be in land for the next decade, because of those compounding returns of being in the same business year after year, right? So 10 years from now is going to look way different, not only professionally, but also personally for me and Ajay. So that's why we love to take it on a week by week basis and making sure that we're continually growing. It starts in the hour after hour, day after day, right? And making sure that we're growing personally and professionally every single day. And that's just going to take us to our goals. We set our goals in the annual planning. We set our goals in the quarterly planning. But then to make those goals a reality, that's where the big things come into play. And then I can also speak personally as well here in terms of growth. I like to think of growth in terms of how you prioritize your life. So the concept I have around this is the priority stack. So I believe that in life, at the max, you should have 3 priorities. And they can be personally, professionally, spiritually, familial, whatever it could be a person, it could be something you continually do, it could be something you do every once in a while. But I think that the priority stack needs to be a foundation of 3 things that your life is centered around. And the first thing for me is fitness, because I think health is wealth, right? It all starts with how we treat our bodies, this gift we've been given, right? Number 2 for me is business, right? Once I've gotten the fitness out of the way, I can dive into business. I can know that I have built my body to a place where it can take 12-hour days if I need to put in that type of work, right? Because I've built a ship that is capable of handling that type of wear and tear on the body. And then number 3, I believe, should be the fun thing. So for me, that's playing pickleball. I love to play pickleball. It's super fun. I played as much as I can.
Yeah, I see all of your pickleball posts every day. Man, sometimes you're there like twice a day doing pickleball. So it makes total sense that fun is one of your pieces of your priority stack for sure.
Exactly. And I think it should be number 3. I think the fun thing should be number 3 because it forces you to do the hard work first. And it forces you to be efficient about the hard work as well. Because I want to go play pickleball because I have a blast playing pickleball. Not that I don't have a blast doing the other things, but I really have a lot of fun playing pickleball. And I think I need to be disciplined about my enjoyment. And because I know I have to be disciplined about my enjoyment, I have to be disciplined about my execution on the first 2 things as well. So if I really need to crank out some tasks in order to play pickleball before the end of the night, I'm going to work really hard to make sure that happens, but I'm not going to sacrifice business to go play pickleball if I need to work until 10 p.m. that night. But also the priority stack works well for the following day as well. So let's say I finish work at 8 p.m. and I'm like, maybe I have an hour to play pickleball. No, I have to wake up at 5 a.m. to hit the gym in the morning. I won't have enough time to go to pickleball, come back, and then have enough sleep in order to hit the lift in the morning. So that means number 3 gets cut for that day. And then hopefully the following day I can hit the number 3 if I've finished number 1 and 2. So it just really helps with, if you figure out the macro, it makes the micro so much easier. So I think the priority stack has really helped me a lot. And it's been something I've been focusing on for almost 8 months now. And it's been really effective for my life.
I love that. So good. Because again, it comes down to intentionality. If you're not intentional about what you're doing with your life, how you're spending your time, like randomness will occur. And then you'll look back after a year has passed and I didn't get to do this or this, and I wanted to do more of that. You weren't intentional about it. Like you didn't try to do it. So that it's not going to just, things rarely just happen randomly the way that you want them to, right? You have to have some intentionality behind it.
Exactly.
I love that. And so where do you see the future? Obviously, this is, again, probably a visionary question. You talked about being in land for a decade, but where do you see from an integrator standpoint, like how do you guys prep for that future? How do you prep for the decade in land and that type of thing?
Yes. I feel like what's most important for me sitting here as the integrator today is to make sure that I'm continually building our team as leaders, right? Because there will come a point where our leaders will need to lead others to then report to me, right? Where I will not be able to interact on a daily basis with every single person. So that means instilling the core values in our team, making sure that our team has the skills, making sure that our team can train people to have the skills that they have, because that's a skill as well. Training is just as much a skill as being able to execute on those skills as well. So making sure that everyone's aligned with our core values, but also that they have, going back to values, interests, and vision, the same three things that we have, right? And continuing to reevaluate, because over time, those things may shift, and that's okay. But we want to continue to evaluate to make sure that those three things are aligned with us, the values, interests, and vision, to making sure that the leaders that we instill and continue to invest in will want to go to the same place as us. So I really feel like it comes down to that group leadership piece, to make sure that we have a culture that people want to come to on a daily basis, but also that they feel is big enough for them to grow their vision into, right? Because we want to have a big enough vision that other people's visions can all collectively fit into that big vision. So I guess it more so for me, coming from beginning to end, I'm thinking about, okay, what does our team look like today? Where do we need to get them to grow into that business that we can have in the future? But there's so much possibility within land that this business can look so many different ways. I know so many different businesses that are crushing it and that look so different from us, but business is so personal. So I think it's just going to continue to revolve around how Ajay and I want to have fun with this game we're playing, and then be around people that we have fun playing that game. And so we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to grow and continue to evaluate to make sure that this is the business that we're creating, and that is something that other people want to be a part of.
That is really cool. I love that. And that's one of the things that I just am so enamored with about business, is because you can design it and engineer it to be whatever you want it to be, and to support whatever you want it to support, whatever kind of lifestyle. You're really the creative genius behind your own business. So you can build it to be however you want it to be. This is just one way, the way that you're doing it. And it's so cool to see. So I could talk about this kind of thing all day. I love it. Now, I'm sure you've thought about this question because you guys are so intentional with how you approach your business. But like what you mentioned in your bio, that you guys you're looking to make $1.5 million in profit in your business this next year. How do you decide that amount? Is it just, yeah, we just want, that sounds like a cool number? Or like, how do you build out that amount? What do you do with the earnings? Like how do you synthesize that into the intentional plan that you guys have for your business?
For sure. Absolutely. So it starts with taking a look at our prior year's KPIs, key performance indicators, right? We want to take a look at our performance from 2023. And that's what we did with our annual review. Just take a look at, okay, what are the possibilities with our business, and what can we use? What information can we use from 2023 to educate us for 2024? So what we did is we looked at the amount of contracts that we got signed in 2023 and how many contracts we got signed month over month, right? That's where I feel like daily metrics are super important, right? Because that gives you an idea of how is the business operating, what is the consistency and continuity that's going on within our business, and to try to make those daily metrics as simple as possible. So from there, what we did is we took a look at how many contracts we had, which was about 5 contracts being signed per month. And we thought that we had the capability and capacity within our business to be able to double that. So we wanted to get to 10 contracts a month, right? So from our prior year's numbers, we felt that it was possible to double that, to get to a 2x. And then from there, that's where we set those goals.
Got it. Love that. So what do you do in terms of investment into your business? How do you guys approach investing into your business for that growth?
Yes, absolutely. So whenever we have excess cash, we focus on 3 core pillars: is 1, coaching, 2, marketing, and 3, talent. We feel like those are the 3 key drivers to be able to drive a business forward. Coaching, we think about, who do we admire? Whose business do we love? Who do we think we would love to be more like? And can we pay them to learn from them, to learn their skills, to learn their mindset, to learn how they build a business? Because if we're able to do that, we can hopefully be more like them. And then number 2, with marketing, we love to test different marketing channels, see what's new, what's going to be able to allow us to reach the people that we need to reach in order to ask them how if they're interested in selling their land. That's what all of this comes down to, right? Reaching the best person who will be most likely to sell you their land. And then number 3 is talent. We want to have A players on our team. We think that there are 2 types of people. There's an operational manager and there's a driver. An operational manager does the tasks that they're asked of, but they don't push things forward. A driver makes sure that they are taking ownership of everything that they do and going above and beyond. We want to have drivers on our team, and we believe we fully have that right now in every single person on our team. And being able to invest in those 3 things allows us to further be closer to our goals and think about how we can get there with the people in our network and with the people who we could add to our network that may know more than us right now, that we could learn from and get better. And it all goes down to that core value of growth.
That's so good. It's so good. I'm a textbook visionary. I am just that's who I am. I know that about myself. But the way that you explain it in such a linear way and how all the pieces fit together, there's something it's really cool to see, and it makes total sense. And I totally see how your brain works as an integrator. And it's just very cool. I want to thank you so much for giving so much value to us today. How can we get back to you? What types of resources or connections are you looking for currently?
Yes. So the best way to connect with me is on Instagram. At Ben Pijanowski. That's Pijanowski. If you have any questions about integrator visionary relationship, happy to talk about it. I think it's super valuable for the business. That's the best way to get in contact with me. Kendall, thank you so much for having me. You're an incredible question asker. You ask the best questions. You're super curious. Every conversation we have, I leave feeling better because you have such great energy. So thanks so much for having me, Kendall. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute honor and privilege to be able to talk to you and pick your brain. Can't believe this is only the 2nd podcast that you've been on, but I'm so honored that you've decided to share your wisdom and knowledge with us. Thanks everyone for joining us. Ashton, the great questions. Jesse and Carmen, thank you for joining us as well. Until then, be great. Take care. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
If you're interested in hearing from other 7-figure land flippers about how they've started and run their businesses, then join us at OnlyLandFans.com. Looking forward to seeing you there.